President Trump nominated Pete Hegseth. They went crazy.
Yeah, like the monocles of the people at Lockheed Martin just pop off. They're like, what? This guy's not going to give us big contracts.
I love the idea of Elon being like, this thing, and then being like, Ramaswamy, you need to go talk about that.
Yeah.
And then he'll go out and explain it to everybody, and everybody's like, yeah, that makes total sense.
It's a 1-2 punch. Just like you said, that's going to work so well.
Perfect.
It really is.
Look, I mean, one person has to be the engineer, one has to be the salesman. That's how every good tech company is run, and that's what we have.
Yeah, but
usually you'd expect to be the other guy would be the other guy, right? You never expect the Indian guy who's actually the communicator, not the engineer. Let's be honest.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just catching strays over here.
you're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to all of you, and welcome back to the Ruthless Friday program. I'm Josh Holmes with Comfortably Smug, Michael, Duncan, John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. As always, a very action-packed week here in the nation's capital. A lot going on, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, so much winning. That's how you can sum it up. Across the board, without a doubt, so much winning.
And we're all part of it. As you can see on camera, Michael Duncan is wearing Tucker Carlson's shirt and Steve Bannon's coat.
He's really gotten into the holiday flavor. Well, look, we're going to give you a whole lot here. We're going to talk about all of these various cabinet picks that are going on, what they all mean. We'll break them down a little bit, give you some flavor for all of that. A lot of news happening. The president-elect, the former and future president, showed up in Washington, D.C. to meet with Joe Biden. We've got maybe a clip of that just for a little flavor for folks.
Great idea.
To just give you a little, this is what we were looking at here in clip one.
Thank you very much. Politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today. And
Look at that roaring fire.
That's the only thing I can look at.
It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Watch. Look at that smile.
Joe Biden.
Happiest man in Washington right there.
He voted for Trump.
You can't convince me otherwise. You can't. How about the inferno? I mean, you pointed it out. It was a little chilly, maybe seasonably.
Yeah.
It was a little chilly
Well,
here.
Biden's in the room. You know what? A stiff breeze could knock him over. So,
But did they need to unleash the gates of hell behind him? Like, look at that thing.
I'm jealous. It's not winter until you got that going. I was jealous as hell when I saw
I mean,
that.
1, 2,
it's
3,
roaring.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I count at least 8 logs on that thing.
I think all of those logs are actually fire starter.
I mean, there must. No, it's like 8 Duraflames stacked on top of each other.
It's essentially like a funeral pyre for Kamala Harris's political career, and they're there celebrating. Joe Biden's like, "Thank you so much for getting rid of Kamala. I tried so much."
I mean, he couldn't have a bigger smile.
I mean, and what I love is that just encapsulates how much the American people did not buy the BS the Democrats were selling. Because if you thought Trump was a fascist, if you thought he was Hitler, if this is 1933 Germany, why would you be like, welcome to the White House, smiling ear to ear? So it's just transparent how fake their entire campaign and premise was. And again, it looks like Joe Biden's happy as hell.
Did you see the pictures of the White House staff flocking to the steps so that they could see Donald Trump?
Yeah, they wanted to catch a glimpse.
Yeah.
They wanted to catch a glimpse. Even they're sort of intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fun stuff that's happening here. There's a new Senate Majority Leader for the first time in 18 years. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get going. One public service announcement I feel like I need to make. I've been advised against it, but I feel like I need to make it.
This is good.
So our old friend, who we've worked with for, 20 years or so, has become kind of a big deal in the last year or so, as other people have been acquainted with the skill set that we've long known. Scott Jennings of CNN. We had a good conversation with Scott. He's always talking to us back and forth about a whole bunch of different things. And we were like, hey, why don't you come on if you're going to be in town? Because, he's mostly in New York and where he lives in Kentucky. Like, if you're going to be in town, why don't you just come on in? He's like, great. But he's a good professional. right? So he has to check. He's like, yes, but let me make sure that everybody's good with it. They shouldn't have a problem with that. So he checks with CNN. They tell him that Ruthless is a competitor to CNN, and therefore they will not allow him to come. So we were supposed to, at this very hour, as you're looking, have a full ride-along with Scott Jennings. And I know a lot of you have been asking us to do that because you know we're buddies and you know that like we have the same kind of sense of humor. And I just wanted to talk to him a lot about him just roasting people. And maybe that's what they were nervous about. But officially, word from CNN that Ruthless is a competitor.
Yeah.
I think we have better numbers, so I'm not sure how to take
I don't know
that.
what the competition is that they're even talking about. I've known Scott for years. I wanted to have him hang out with the guys, my other friends. And like the other thing is like the reason CNN is getting any viewers is because they like tuning in to see Scott essentially just like disembowel every Democrat put before him live on television every night. The only reason they're getting those numbers is because of Scott.
Right.
And this is ridiculous.
This is how it's rewarded.
Yeah.
They're suppressing conservative voices.
It's
If they were honest
completely
themselves,
hilarious.
they are not our
Yeah.
competitor. Like they wish they had our numbers. We would help bring awareness to CNN.
Yeah.
if you were on our
Hey, that's a station. You should check that out. This guy's on that station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like usually a couple under Fox. Up or above, depending on, your cable system provider. But yeah, it's somewhere in there. You should check it out because that guy's pretty entertaining. Well, anyway, we're a competitor. But I'll tell you the reason I brought it. I was willing to just sort of let this go, right? Because, look, our friend is a professional. He's contractually obligated. He's going to abide by whatever his employer is going to do. So I was like, I don't want to put him in a bad spot. I don't want to do that. But then I got not one, but 2 interview requests today from CNN.
Oh my!
For me to go on their airwaves.
Oh my!
And go talk about the majority leader's race or what I think about these cabinet secretaries. And I was like, the competitor all of a sudden doesn't seem to be abiding by the same set of rules
That's
that they've
wild.
put on their own employees. Interesting, right?
Very.
So, fuck them. We're moving forward. We're going to have a good time.
In conclusion, fuck them.
When we come back, we were going to get to all of those Trump cabinet picks. Some sort of raise some eyebrows around here. Some of them we just are in love with, and we'll talk about all of it, and we'll get to it right after this.
This holiday season, millions of families across America will rely on credit card rewards to visit their loved ones. So why are D.C. politicians trying to pass a bill that would end credit card rewards, making it more expensive for families to be together? The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill is a big government handout to corporate megastores that makes them more money, but eliminates travel rewards for you. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
All right. So, fellas, should we dig in a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of
absolutely.
news about all of the various choices. The one that surprised people came last night, that initially surprised people, came last night.
The one I probably am the most enthusiastic about.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. It took the defense industrial complex, knocked the wind out of them, right? Because this isn't one of theirs. It's certainly not somebody who understands the bowels of the bureaucracy of the Pentagon, which is typically what it is that they like working with. So when President Trump nominated Pete Hegseth, they went crazy.
Yeah, like the monocles of the people at Lockheed Martin just pop off. They're like, what? This guy's not going to give us big contracts.
But, look, Pete from Fox, where he does an absolutely terrific job. We've known Pete for, 15 plus years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we used to work with him back in 07, 08.
Yeah.
When he was just getting started in advocacy
With his
role.
vets group. Yeah.
Yeah, with his vets group. And we've stayed in touch over the years. Look, rock solid guy. His resume is completely ridiculously awesome. And you forget that because he's a real salt of the earth guy. And what he does on Fox is he's with vets. He's with the people. And so he's not in a suit and tie.
That's
Right.
the heart of the reason he is on Fox is because of the work he does for veterans and his experience
Yeah.
in the military, which is like exactly the credentials you'd want for someone in this role.
Yeah, but what I noticed immediately is that people in the liberal media, I think a lot of people jealous of Pete and all of his success and his incredible resume. I mean, he's a double Ivy and a Bronze Star winner.
Yeah.
Tried to use his affiliation with Fox as a pejorative.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
TV host to,
Yeah,
you know,
TV
be the,
host.
to be the Secretary of Defense.
As if the double Ivies and the 2 Bronze Stars.
Nah, not good.
Not like somehow those little pieces of
Right.
the resume
Yeah.
aren't important.
And just an aside, a selfish aside, this job's hard.
Oh, dude, it's a very hard job. This is what I'll say. So all of these things that we're talking about, they require Senate confirmation. Granted, we 53 Republican senators, so you like your odds a little bit better than you liked them when they were at 51, or you know, I think it was 51 the last 2 years of the Trump presidency, if I'm not mistaken. So you got a little bit more margin to work with, but you also have a couple of votes that are going to be pretty tough to get.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, these confirmation hearings are going to be real play for keeps deals.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how the Democratic Party is going to try to build themselves back up. So initially everybody looked at Pete and they were like, well, he's going to have a tough confirmation. I don't know about that.
I don't think so. I wouldn't hope so. I hope it wouldn't be, and I don't think it would be.
Yeah, I don't know about that. What I do know, and the only thing, my only advice for, and I hope we get a chance to talk to Pete. I think if the administration's smart, they start sending these people up here to talk on Ruthless, because I'll be honest, every single senator on the Republican side and their staffs listen to this stuff, and we appreciate your feedback on a day-to-day basis on what you're hearing. But I think the biggest thing is not so much the confirmation hearing for him, is like it's going to be the toughest battle ever, getting inside of DOD and actually changing things in a remarkable, because you're going to have a deep state element there that is locked and loaded and ready to go on trying to stifle any sort of change. And he's a change agent.
Right.
You
That's
would
exactly
not
right.
have Pete Hegseth nominated for this role unless you were willing to really shake things up.
Right, and he's smart enough to surround himself with deputies who know exactly how to execute
And
on
that's
that change.
I think that's what my point was.
And dude, I am so pumped about this pick.
Yes.
I mean, not for nothing, but he is really good buddies with Will Kane, who is
Yeah.
a very good friend of the
Great
program.
friend of the program.
And, you know, just to hear what Will has been saying about him, just from a personal standpoint, and like, this is one pick that everybody in D.C. just lost their minds when it came out. But I absolutely loved it, because you know what? If somehow Pete Hegseth goes to the hospital, he's not going to lie to everybody that he wasn't there.
I
Just
think
like the current Secretary
Well,
of
the
Defense.
current guy just wasn't at work for a week and nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to be Pete.
Right.
I think we should allow Jennings his feedback on this
great
nominee
idea.
by proxy, and that is
by proxy.
a clip that we have of CNN. Spaghettis, can we do clip number 2?
Anyone have confidence in the current leadership of the Pentagon and the way the defense situation has been operating for the last several years? I mean, from the Afghanistan pullout, which was an extreme debacle for which no one was held accountable. We've had spy balloons flying over the United States. We built a $300 million pier as a public relations stunt, which wound up killing an American service member. I'd say I've had just about enough of the so-called insiders running the Defense Department. I think we ought to give Pete Hegseth a chance, because he's got two
insiders.
all the criticism of him is that he's not the expected Washington pick. And I'm just saying to you that the American people just voted against the expected Washington pick. So he's got 20 years in service, Afghanistan, Iraq, 2 Bronze Stars, Princeton, Harvard. Yeah, he's on TV, but so are the rest of us.
He's just so good.
God. Thanks for joining us.
Dude, yeah, hey, thanks, Scott. I appreciate your time here on the program.
Poor Scott. We would have had a ball with him.
Hope the kids are doing well.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. That's it right there. There is so much of this like administrative state insidery garbage that's been running and gunking up our government for so long. The Democrat Party is now the physical embodiment of that, where they're like, no, we know better than you. We're going to put our people in place. And who do we end up with? Some dude who's wearing a dress and his head shaved, stealing people's luggage? Like, this is who you think are the experts that should be running things around here? Hell no.
And it's wild to me that, you know, a lot of people on that panel, big Democrats, could have so quickly forgotten what happened like 10 days ago, you know?
Yeah.
And that all of America voted against
Yeah.
the status quo.
Well, they love, there is an establishment. It's not who you think it is, but there is an establishment in Washington, D.C. that doesn't like anything that fits out of order. Like everybody just sort of sits here in perpetuity working for nonprofits or working for like advocacy organizations or whatever. And they build credentials because they talk to world leaders and they do all these things. And once you go outside of that, they get furious because Pete wasn't standing in line. It turns out he was helping veterans.
Right.
God darn it.
Right.
What a really rough way to pad his career ladder. But like ultimately, this guy, one, he deserves a very, very fair shot because he has earned it.
Yep.
This guy has served this country in the best possible way, continues to serve it. And if you watch anything, if you know him at all, if you watch anything that he's done while he's on Fox, it's mission driven.
Yep.
This is not some like late night host who's just sort of like shooting from the hip. I am certain that Democrats will pull up whatever they find is the most objectionable 30-second clip he's ever said over 12 years of television. And we'll all have to relive that. But I certainly hope the Republicans on that panel also pull up the years commitment that he had for this country and serving overseas.
He's got 2 Bronze Stars. Maybe you said that, Duncan. And he is a similar age to a lot of the people who are working their way up in the military. And this is the kind of guy who has seen combat and will think twice before asking another man to die for him.
That's it.
Yep. No, it's totally right. It's a great pick from our perspective here at Ruthless. And, maybe some people didn't think that we'd say that, but we absolutely will say that, and we stand by it. Another great pick, this guy. Let's go to clip 3.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
There's so many.
We didn't mean business.
There's so many awesome clips of this guy. He had a hearing with AOC where he just completely demolishes it. Like I've loved seeing people sharing the highlights because if you could have like the dream candidate to restore order to the border, that's the guy.
Yeah, because you have to have the will to actually execute on the mandate that was provided by the Republican Party and Donald Trump on election day. And part of that means the millions upon millions of illegal immigrants who entered this country are going to have to go home. And what he said in that clip isn't the cruelty. The cruelty is opening the border and rolling out the red carpet and telling people we're going to decriminalize border crossings and give
sanctuary cities
and letting them fill into our country. That is the cruelty, is telling people something that isn't going to be true.
Well, they know damn well that we can't handle it.
That's the thing. Right. So that is the issue, is the Democrats have tried to tell the American people that, you know what, you're a bad person if you oppose illegal immigration. And they tried to make like, oh, the moral thing is to allow illegal immigration, is to allow fentanyl into our country, to allow cartels to operate in this country, is to allow Americans to be killed by illegal aliens, is to allow drugs that they bring in to kill American citizens. They've made it that the American people who disagree with that are fascists and criminals, but the people who enter the country illegal are supposed to be heroes. Like, this election, like Duncan said, it was a mandate. The American people are tired of that.
And for the first time, Smug, and this is an important thing to remember, is it's caught Democrats by surprise. Immigration and border security was not a base Republican issue. It was an everybody issue.
Yep.
It was right below the economy.
And it used to be an everybody issue before the world went nuts because Donald Trump made it the cornerstone of his 2016 campaign. And then because people didn't like Donald Trump, then they suddenly changed their opinions on all this. Barack Obama deported millions of people when he was president of the United States, and now we have this clip saying, well, 1 million a year, that's impossible. Can we possibly afford that?
He did it.
Barack Obama did it, and part of it is literally just enforcing the laws and empowering.
That's all it is allowing what's statutory law in America actually is as written, and having a department that's funded by Congress to do that very act actually conduct those things.
There was a stat floating around that over 1 million people currently have been adjudicated as people who should be deported, and they just haven't been deported.
Here.
I mean, that seems like a pretty good place to start.
I completely agree. Anyway, Tom Homan is a border czar. Couldn't be more happy about that. That dude is going to, I mean, clearly means business.
Yeah. Tough as nails.
He means business. So you saw the news, the first out of the gates was Susie Wiles, chief of staff named, and she's obviously playing a big role in a lot of this. And you can see her imprint on things like, we'll get to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Like, she's had an extremely close relationship. In fact, I think maybe worked for Marco at one point. Brought him into the campaign where he was a really effective surrogate for the Trump campaign. But she, in and of herself, is a historic pick.
Right. Yeah, this is groundbreaking. She's the first female ever to serve as chief of staff to a president of the United States. She deserves magazine covers. She deserves war type at the top of newspapers. She deserves a solar system named after her. And yet the media is just like, hiring decision made by Trump.
Every single thing that happened in a Barack Obama presidency was historic.
Yep.
And it was historic for one reason. It was the first black president of the United States. Understandably, that's great. So do you apply these things then? Remember, Karine Jean-Pierre, historic. Historic press secretary. Okay, so you got the first woman chief of staff for the White House. Is that historic? Nope, can't find that anywhere. Doesn't see that. Not nowhere in any write-up of Susie Wiles is it historic that she's the first woman to serve as chief of staff in the White House. That's an incredible thing.
It is.
Listen, they're not going to want to deal with this lady. She means business.
She's tougher than all of them put together.
She means business. And I'm telling you, like, it's a great pick for starters. Secondly, she's daughter of Pat Summerall.
Oh,
I love that. Yeah. Legendary broadcaster.
Yeah.
Just a silky guy, narrated most of my childhood.
Right.
On the airwaves. But she absolutely great. You got an UN ambassador to which is Elise Stefanik. I think a lot of people assumed very early on, because she was such an effective surrogate for Donald Trump, going back very, very early. In fact, before he even left office, if you recall, when she was doing all of the hearings and whatnot, impeachment hearings and all of those things, she continued that drumbeat, extremely effective surrogate for him. He's now tapped her. Wonderful selection. Elise is terrific. She's going to be awesome there. She has the bandwidth for all this, by the way. Very, very, very smart. Like, nobody's going to run circles around her at any place, much less the United Nations, full of those dipshits. But the one thing that I start to worry about, just as a Republican, is, how big is our majority going to be in the House of Representatives? This is a confirmable appointment, and so she can serve until she's confirmed, which is great. But Trump's got 4 years. The first quarter is really important. The second quarter, really important. By the time you get to the end of the first year, just look back. Biden administration basically tried to socialize our country in the first year, and they passed everything they wanted to pass. They got it done. They used their mandate. They got it done. Same was sort of true with the big tax cuts with Trump, a revolutionizing of the Supreme Court with the Gorsuch nomination, whole bunch of things. You look back to the Obama administration, Obamacare, big stimulus stuff, all of those things. Bush, you go the No Child Left Behind. They had a big energy package, the big tax cut. We're still working under the tax frame that they set in the first few months of the Bush administration. Then, of course, 9/11 happened. My point is that the first year of an administration, particularly if you're limited to 4 years, as Donald Trump is, vitally important. I get a little bit concerned here, fellas.
Right.
About taking anyone out of a House majority that could be 4 or 5 for any period of that first year.
And the House is different from the Senate in an important way. So a House seat cannot be filled until a special election occurs, whereas a Senate seat can be filled immediately by a governor making an appointment. So if you take somebody out of the Senate, immediately you get a Trump vote right back in there. The House, it takes months, maybe half a year.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any danger of losing the district. That's not my concern. My concern is that the time period, there's going to be a 60 to 90 day lag no matter what.
I mean, maybe the theory is you could stagger this pick, and I'm sure the next one we're going to get to here, in a way that doesn't impact the majority all at once.
Yeah.
But it remains to be seen. And I share your concern.
Yeah. I mean, look, you've heard from Elise here on the Variety program a couple of times. She's a good friend of the program.
Also, one more thing on her. If you want to see how good she's going to be in this position, go back and watch the YouTube clips of her interrogating those professors and those presidents of the universities about those
legendary,
Hamas protests on their campuses.
It is who
amazing.
you want on that wall.
Yes.
I'm not ever
Yes.
going to criticize it. This is exactly the right place for her.
Yes.
That's who I would choose for this exact position. I worry about it not just in her, but then I start looking at some of these other picks.
Right.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Again, great friend of the program. You've heard him here 2 or 3 different times. Nobody I know has a better command of foreign policy as it relates to all the things that we've got going on with national security than Mike Waltz does. Great pick.
Incredibly sharp guy. I mean, I often go to the Nixon Foundation get-togethers, and he's been invited to speak multiple times. Absolute, like Holmes said, command of foreign policy. Great pick for that.
Remember he told us a story about when they were going to look for that guy that ran off, and we ultimately traded a
Progrum or something.
Yeah. What was the? It was the guy who went AWOL.
Bo Bergdahl. That was
Bo
him.
Bergdahl.
Yeah.
That's it. He went AWOL, and then we traded like a bunch of terrorists to get him back.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the mission that he was sort of a part of. I think the first time we had him on the program, we got into depth on that, and he was talking about all kinds of different pieces of foreign policy that go into all these decision making. He was very critical of the administration's position on that. But it was clear the man knows more than anybody else knows about this stuff. So you want him on that wall, but again, he comes out of the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of represented, I look at Mike Walls, I look at Pete Hegseth, I look at John Thune, and it just feels good to be represented, as a handsome man myself.
Wait, why didn't you say Homan?
Yeah, Tom Homan.
He's pretty handsome.
He's got a little work to do.
Well, he's got. Well, it just depends on your tastes.
Yeah, on your taste.
If somebody likes that rugged look, Homan's your man.
Yeah.
If they want a handsome, trim, slimmed down old man down here, then
Yeah.
Hegseth may be more your choice.
Homan doesn't have the same flow Hegseth has.
Well, sometimes I'm slam dunking, sometimes I'm slim dunking.
A couple other ones I'll buzz through here. A really big one to me, Mike Huckabee.
Yeah.
Done
God, I love him.
so much work on behalf of the conservative movement over the years. You remember him from his time in governor. He ran for president. He became a Fox News personality, but more than anything, he stayed in the fight the whole way through. Of course, his daughter is now governor of Arkansas. Incredibly accomplished family. This guy, as ambassador to Israel, inspired choice.
Yeah, he really is. And I've long thought that Huck is one of the best communicators on the Republican side. This guy has true talent. And every time he takes the stage, I just listen because I know he's got something up his sleeve that's worth hearing. And what I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but what I've heard is that he has guaranteed every newborn in Israel a copy of the Trump for Kids workbook.
There we go. There we go.
He had a Trump for Kids workbook. I do know by talking to the pro-Israel committee of which we find ourselves, I subscribe to that, and I know most of us here, all of us do, is they were heartened. Anybody who has had to experience the discord of watching on their televisions what's happening on college campuses, or the Democratic Party's sort of courting of the Hamas caucus, not picking Shapiro quite obviously because he was Jewish, has had a lot of concern.
And it continues to happen. Did you guys see any of these images online from Ithaca College?
Yep.
That tunnel where students put up wanted posters of Jewish professors.
Are you kidding? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, they put it up. And the
That's
school said that,
disgusting.
we're going to look into, they didn't say anything about anti-Semitism or anything. They said, we're going to look into this incident.
I mean, it's just it's sickening. It's disgusting. I think we've spoken pretty clearly on that from the Variety program's point of view. But Mike Huckabee is somebody who we wholly trust in that place. Environmental Protection Agency, typically not a place that you have a lot of Republican interest in, but it's affecting you in a very major way. All kinds of regulations coming out of this dumb shit administration.
Yep.
You know, and you look at like EV mandates, and you look at all kinds of different dumb things.
Essentially just trying to cripple American energy production.
Hurting
That's what they've been
farmers,
doing.
the way they hurt farmers, yeah.
Friend of the program, Lee Zeldin, has been appointed to
Terrific
correct
pick.
all of that.
Terrific pick.
Yeah, you'll recall him. He ran for governor, almost won the state of New York.
Yeah.
2
'Cause,
years
He's a
ago.
great guy, and he has just a stellar reputation in the state of New York. He has gone to bat electing Republicans across the entire state, works so tirelessly to help other people. And I look forward to him being at the EPA and executing the original vision of that department when Richard Nixon created it, is keep the country clean, keep the parks clean, and let American energy dominate.
Yep. I totally agree. White House counsel Bill McKinley. A lot of us have worked with him.
Yeah.
Extremely smart, right? Smash?
Yeah, dude, he is so tough. He is so smart. It's a great pick. I mean, what they're doing inside the White House is building out a dream team. I mean, starting with Susie, and then you've got Bill McKinley in there. He's going to fist fight for the president. He's not just going to take it from the left. He's not just going to like ask for permission for things. He is going to be on offense on behalf of President Trump, and just an inspired choice in Bill McKinley.
Yeah, and I also want to hit, so Steve Witkoff, Middle East envoy, obviously an important position,
Right.
given what the Biden administration
Got
has
his work
done
cut out for him
to
in the
Middle
past
East.
4 years, what they put on his plate.
Witkoff, a lot of people, maybe the first time you're hearing about Witkoff, but this is a true force for good during the entire campaign. He's somebody who was very close to President Trump, who worked diligently to try to repair any damaged feelings that anyone would have anywhere in the country based on old fights, to try to collectively bring everybody in to make sure they're under the same tent on Election Day 2024. He was involved in Governor Kemp in those discussions with
Mending
President
fences.
Trump. Mending fences, which
Yeah.
ultimately, look, that's why he won the state of Georgia.
Yeah,
It
good,
was-
it's good experience for the Middle East.
It sort of is. I mean, I think that was my takeaway. Is
yeah.
that like this is a guy who knows how to get out of people what it is that they need, what it is that they want, and try to match up those two things. I have tremendous respect for him. I haven't met him personally, but I've watched his work, and I have a bunch of different people that I talk to on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis who have spoken rave reviews.
Look, if you can make peace in the Republican Party, you can make peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
You know?
I think that's probably right. CIA Director John Ratcliffe came as no surprise to anybody here on the Variety program. This is a guy who is the director of the DIA, which is the overseeing intelligence sort of agency within the government that we'd created over the last few years. Clearly has the faith and trust of President Trump, did a superb job, knows this stuff inside and out. It's kind of a no-brainer from my standpoint, right, fellas?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like one of those is like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Great
This
pick.
is my favorite announcement.
Yeah,
right here.
let's, why don't you go ahead?
So the Department of Government Efficiency is
Love
going to
it.
be run by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. I mean, this to me also is a terrific expression of what motivated so many people to vote for President Trump, because they have seen years and years of bureaucracy standing in the way of the government actually doing their job for the American people. And I hope both of these guys just take a chainsaw to all this waste, all this BS that our government is engaged in. Ron Paul tweeted that he'd be happy to be on board, and they said, we'd be happy to have you help out in any way you feel you can. This is what's needed.
That's awesome, dude. I love this so much. And there are two criticisms that I've seen coming out of the left on this new program. The first is, you guys have both seen this. The first is, what do you need two people for a Department of Efficiency for? Have you seen this
Yeah,
from
they think
Elizabeth
that's a
Warren?
dunk.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So stupid. It just proves that the left has no idea how
Yeah.
to dunk on people. The second one is, this is just another blue ribbon panel. You know, there are always these blue ribbon panels. Well, blue ribbon panels are usually run by supplanted bureaucrats.
Yep.
They are not run by two of the most successful people in American society who have built and run businesses.
Multiple.
Know exactly how to cut things.
I would just say, like, what's the track record of people doubting Elon Musk?
Yeah.
You
Let's
know?
look at the stock market.
Are they like 0 for 100?
I mean, a billion.
How many people laughed at him when he said he was going to put rockets in space and land them back on the platform?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were all fucking wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't doubt him. That's all I'm saying.
Don't doubt him. Don't doubt him. And he's been around the Trump organization ever since Election Day, clearly playing a big role, but also obviously taking in from everybody that's now been appointed to all these cabinets, like, all right, I'm going to be working with you. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to be working with you. I'm going to find some stuff here.
I'm just so excited. Seeing all of these picks, seeing the government, it's like everything we wanted is happening.
I love the idea of Elon being like, this thing, and then being like, Ramaswamy, you need to go talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, and then he'll go out and explain it to everybody, and everybody's like, yeah, that makes total sense.
It's a 1-2 punch. Just like you said, that's going to work so well.
Perfect.
It really is.
Look,
So-
I mean, one person has to be the engineer, one has to be the salesman. That's how every good tech company is run, and that's what we have.
Yeah, but
And usually you'd expect to be the other guy would be the other guy, right? You never expect the Indian guy who's actually the communicator, not the engineer. Let's be honest.
Dude, it's like I just alley-ooped to Michael Jordan. Holy shit, Smug.
that was really good.
That was good.
That was really good. So you get into the national security apparatus, and there were a couple of interesting choices. One who a lot of us think highly of on the program, Smug has had a problem with, which is the Secretary of State nominee, Marco Rubio.
Previously, I thought I had told you the story in passing. Like a year or two ago, I went to a dear friend's wedding, and their wonderful bride was Marco Rubio team, right? And so there were a lot of Marco Rubio folks at the wedding. And, you know, over the years, I've had my issues with Rubio. But you know what? That day, I talked to all the Rubio people, and I was like, you know, let's just bury the hatchets. Wonderful wedding, wonderful day. Our party has to march forward. We've got a united mission. And the hatchet was buried.
Yeah, but
so, if
You might have some shenanigans going on in your Twitter account.
Yeah,
I
I wasn't interested in burying hatches. I wanted retribution. I tweeted when it was announced, I think on Monday night, that finally Marco Rubio can put Smug in Gitmo.
Yeah, and he's waited like 8 long years,
dude. And you know a tweet is really a banger when you literally get a call from a chief of staff in the United States Senate.
yeah.
I got a call, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but the person was laughing their ass off.
Yeah.
But again,
no, he's like, I have no interest in Gitmo, and so
no.
now
all I'm saying is Pete Hegseth served there, so he can pick out a cop for you.
I too am second generation American.
But I'd say the main thing, like we see with all these picks, and what I hope everyone gets from this is the wolves are going to be out from the Democrat Party to try to sink these. Like Holmes said, they're going to try to rebuild their party, and you're going to have these little Democrats run around, try to make a name for themselves, being like, oh, I sunk this pick for President Trump.
Everybody's looking for their Spartacus moment. You remember that from the confirmation hearings in Senate Judiciary, Cory Booker it was at that point. But you're absolutely right. They're all looking for their 15 minutes of fame, that little boomlet that launches them onto the national stage.
Which is why the number one thing has to be absolute and total Republican unity. It doesn't matter whose feelings are hurt or anything. Everyone needs to put everything aside, and we need to get President Trump's cabinet, his picks, everything done ASAP. Let's get the ball rolling because there's a lot of work fixing this country.
It's going to be tested with the last two. And the Tulsi Gabbard appointment as the director of national intelligence, the position that Ratcliffe previously held, is a controversial one if you're right of center. She's basically a libertarian and had a history. Obviously, she was a Democratic representative from Hawaii. And, look, her worldview is not a perfect it doesn't comport itself perfectly with where like your average everyday Republican is over time. Now, understanding that she's out there to deliver the Trump agenda, I think gets her halfway home. And initially, I thought this pick was like that's going to be a difficult confirmation from my standpoint, because I know there's like 15 to 20 Senate Republicans that are going to have real questions there. Like, I think Pete Hegseth, I think he's good.
Yeah, he should say.
I think he's good. You know, everybody, all the outside groups, everybody, like, they're gonna kill Hegseth. They're not gonna kill Hegseth.
You can't stop. I mean,
Hegseth is getting
many
done.
terrorists have tried.
Many terrorists have tried. But like, this one is one where you have a little bit of a cleavage from where your conservative base is. I'll be interested. Now, if she goes in representing America first and doesn't deviate and tries to contextualize her previous, I mean, look, she endorsed Bernie Sanders. Like, if you can contextualize that in terms of what she has now learned and why she is perfect for this job, I think she can get it done too. There's work to be done. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly how I feel about it. Is, President Trump picked her. He must have a reason why. I am always skeptical of anyone who is ever a Democrat and supported Bernie. But if he feels that she is going to execute his vision, just let the people know that's what it is.
And Marco, there's a little work to be done in your confirmation as well. You get Smug to Gitmo, and you will sail through.
I'd like someone to answer that question. How quickly can we get him there?
It'd be a vote by acclamation.
The final one that we'll cover today just came up, and it's Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Now,
I am so thrilled with this.
I know you are.
Yep.
One of the reasons why you listen to the Variety program is not to just give you the cheerleading and everything you want to hear, but it's also just sort of like a realistic assessment of how these things are going to work. And this one strikes me as an extremely difficult lift. And it's not because, look, Gaetz has been nothing but kind to us. We have no bone to pick. In fact, I think he's like complimented the program on several different occasions.
He's a great guy.
So we have no bone to pick, but he's created a lot of enemies.
Which is why I like him.
I know that's why you like him. But he's also, he's run into a little bit of allegations against him. Most of that's been cleared away.
All that's been thrown away, I think.
Yeah, but he's been a lightning rod.
Yeah, lightning rod.
Yeah, he's been a lightning rod in D.C. An attorney general, just so you all know, we haven't talked about this in the program a lot, but we've talked about it internally over the last year, where, like, if Trump wins, the hardest thing to confirm of any of the cabinet secretaries is going to be the attorney general.
No matter who he nominates.
Because of the obvious, right? I mean, this is an administration that, in the Biden administration, that has prosecuted Donald Trump. And I think the American people rendered a verdict on what they thought about that last Tuesday. Prosecuting political enemies does not work. But because there is this confusion about how justice is administered, and they typically sort of, it's a part of an administration, but the distance between the enforcement of law and a president of the United States has been something that's sort of codified in an administration over the years. They clearly broke that with the Biden administration, and the great fear the Democrats were trying to instill upon everybody all the way through is that Donald Trump is just here to prosecute your enemies, his political enemies. And he's going to use it as basically like his prosecution team to go out against anybody who's ever opposed him.
So I love this so much, because the greatest fear a Democrat has is that
Somebody
people will
does
do
what
to
they-
them what they do to others.
Yeah.
Right.
That's their greatest fear in life. This is all just projection. They are afraid. This whole Washington establishment of Democrats, the whole administrative state blob, is terrified that Matt Gaetz might just fight back against the system they put in place to go after anyone who goes against the grain. They went after President Trump as in multiple states, multiple jurisdictions. They charged, or Biden was accused of the same thing that President Trump was, and guess who got a slap on the wrist, and guess who's getting put on trial? It's very clear that they fear that Matt Gaetz is going to end the system that they have in place of, oh, no. You don't understand. You just have to go with the flow of Washington and how things work around here. We need someone who's going to break that shit up.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why Trump nominated him, because he knows that he is a guy that will take a meat axe to that culture, and that he will not. He doesn't care about the criticism.
Bingo.
He is going to dismantle it limb from limb, and I think he's going to have some questions to
I
answer.
worry a lot about it because I think that there's an awful lot of that Senate Republican conference that is extremely skeptical of Matt Gaetz, of the fact that he's never really practiced law, he's never spent a time in a courtroom, that he's never been a part of any sort of law enforcement agency. Typically you get the Bill Barrs or the Michael Mukasey's or these old school people who sort of have understood the administration of law. What I will say in Matt Gaetz's defense, he is no more radical than Eric Holder was as a nominee for Barack Obama.
Great point.
There you go.
That was the most radical choice that I've ever seen anyone make for an attorney general, and we learned from it. He did exactly what you thought he would do.
Right.
He was the worst attorney general in the history of the United States.
And continues to be one of the worst people in the United States. If you want to see why House races have gotten so tough, it's because Eric Holder and the billionaires who fund him have been going around the country and gerrymandering congressional districts as much as possible.
Well, that's the whole point.
That's the
thing. The thing is that as an attorney general, you're supposed to be immune to the politics.
Yep.
You just enforce the law, right? Lady Justice is blind. And then immediately when he's done, he's like, no, I got to gerrymander the hell out of these districts to make sure that Democrats win more. I know where your heart is now, Eric.
Any of these complaints about Matt Gaetz is a radical, he is not halfway to the right how far Eric Holder is to the left.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
point.
look, I think that's right. But I do worry because I think any nominee, you could have appointed anyone to that position the first time around for an attorney general in the Trump administration was going to get a very, very hard set of confirmation hearings.
Right.
Somebody's as big a lightning rod. You're giving people an opportunity to not listen to the full story. I worry about that one. I worry about it. I hope it works out. I really do. But I worry a lot about it.
I mean, all I think is imagine what it looks like when Matt Gaetz is attorney general. Do you want that world? I do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know that our people do, and I know that like vast majority of conservatives think that that's certainly preferable from anything that we've dealt with over the last 4 years. But I do think that there is some hesitation there, and we'll have to see how it plays out. You can't say we don't understand the Senate, by the way, because we gave you a pretty good thing that we're going to talk about a little later in the show. But we want to know from you first, and you got to like and subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cabinet pick so far?
There's some good ones to pick from.
I mean, what's your favorite? We just went through a bunch of them. There's others that you've talked about. Maybe it's the staff. I got to be honest. Pretty thrilled about.
Yeah, put Stephen Miller there. Like these are these are people
Stephen
of
Miller.
action. Yeah, great.
I mean,
Taylor Budovich, our boy over there.
Exactly.
I mean, these are great choices, and
this is their time. They're
is
going to
their
do
time.
really big things.
I think so.
This is their time. So when we come back, we're going to read your comments from last Tuesday's episode.
So, Ashbrook, with the political and economic situation as volatile as it is in America right now, precious metals can be key to protecting your financial future.
Yeah, the Fed is printing more and more money every day, and it's having a very big impact on buying power out there, and it's something a lot of people are very worried about.
And you can protect your buying power, your 401k, with gold. It's tax and penalty free. And for that sort of thing, we like to talk to our friends at Lear Capital.
And there's no reason to think you wouldn't, because they've been around for 27 years. They've got thousands of 5-star reviews, and they are the only company with a 24-hour risk-free money-back guarantee.
Awesome. So call Lear today at 800-707-4575 or go to LearRuthless.com. Get your free gold and silver wealth protection guides. There's no obligation, just free information on protecting your hard-earned dollars with gold and silver. Call 800-707-4575 or go to LearRuthless.com. Also ask how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus gold with a qualifying purchase. Call 800-707-4575 or go to LearRuthless.com.
All right, so our question from last Tuesday was, will Democrats learn their lesson? I think you could tell by the tone and tenor of our conversation that we didn't think so. We were a little skeptical of that, but if you look at it, there were a lot of reasons for us to come to that conclusion. Mm-hmm. Some of you have picked up on the same things. We always do this by starting with a voice.
Okay, the first comment comes from Scott Berube. And Scott writes, the Democrats will never learn. Nationally, just like their experiments with socialism, they will double down next cycle because, quote, the Kamala people just didn't implement the right plan, but we will, end quote. Regionally, they will push Democrat candidates that on the surface will make J.D. Vance look like Hanoi Jane. However, under the surface, they are as leftist as they come. This is such a good point, Scott, because this is where the Democrats have moved. They are leftists who think they know better than you. They're elitists. They look down on people. Just look at the vote total in D.C. on the presidential election. It was like 95% to Kamala. So you know that not just Democrats nationally, but Democrats who are in decision-making authority in Washington, D.C. absolutely hate half of this country, and they have opinions that do not align with everybody out there.
No question about it, and they're very good at finding candidates that mask what it is that they actually think.
No, it's true.
You know, they really
Try to
are.
package them up.
Yeah, package them all up, and then there's some psycho. Dunks, what else we got?
This comment's from Charlie Foxtrot. They write, regarding the question of whether the Democrats will learn their lessons of 2024, I think the answer is resounding no. They were working their way through the stages of grief and might have been able at the end to accept what had gone horribly wrong and learn from it. But Trump didn't give them a chance. He immediately landed a series of body blows that kept them from moving on. Rubio, Stefanik, Ratcliffe, it's going through all the nominees that have been, so far. A vicious combo of Musk and Ramaswamy running Doge.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Department of Government Efficiency, that is.
To the moon.
I am not sure that there are enough smelling salts to bring the Democrats back to reality where they might actually learn from their mistakes and move on. This is actually super, super true. There is no vacuum for evaluation and contemplation. Like the Trump transition is moving so quickly and so hard. And I talked to some folks earlier today, and boy, did they sound exhausted.
Yeah.
Like they are working around the clock to make these nominees. And you know, the reality is like with all this news, additional news about like good news for people that the left hates, they're right back in it.
Yeah.
You know, cable news is just as crazy as it was on November 4th.
Yeah, they're right back in.
Yeah.
They're right back in. There was no moment to sort of like
reset the dial.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Hey, maybe we missed something.
They're just at 11.
Yeah, right back to the thing. All right, Smuggles, what do we got?
Comment 3 comes from Bass Pundit. Bass Pundit writes, will the Dems learn their lesson? No clue. I think the Democrats have put themselves in a really bad position on many issues. The chicken started coming home to roost in Obama's third term under Slow Joe. The progressive virus may have reached its peak. If Trump delivers a more prosperous America and peaceful world, then the Democrats are cooked for quite some time, as Trump doesn't turn into the anti-democratic dictator they demagogued him to be. More eyes will be open to the failures and lies of leftist progressives, and I'm here for it. That's it.
That's good. That's really good. As always, we read all of these things. There were so many. These sort of incorporate a lot of different thoughts that we'd seen from a bunch. So that's why we chose them. But, I mean, everything was great.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear who you think is the...
And that was another from the comments. We forgot to mention Kristi Noem,
Yeah.
DHS.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
She could quickly become my favorite if she does one thing.
Dogs?
Well, yeah, you know about her history with dogs.
She's going to take the animals out.
If she takes the animals off airplanes,
Yes.
then she's the best.
Just completely off the airplanes.
I mean, you saw what happened to Cricket.
Maybe she can deputize the New York Environmental Protection or who those people seem to have a pretty...
Yeah.
We have an update on that, by the way, in the variety section. But before we do that, we want to talk to you a little bit about Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's something, Smug, that I know you use every day.
Yeah, it's incredibly easy to use. All you do is you wake up, you pop the cap off, you breathe in, breathe out through the little machine, and it measures exactly what your body's doing. Are you burning carbohydrates? Are you burning fat? And then the best part, like I always say, is it then just decides and tells you what to do. It doesn't give you numbers that you don't know. It's HRV. I don't know what the hell that means or what I'm supposed to do about it. Lumen just says, okay, here's what you should think about for the rest of the day. Try to eat this. Try to do this. It just gives you the answers.
Kind of flags for flags stuff you don't really internalize unless you see it, right? How are you managing your stress? Have you had the nutrition that you needed? How was your sleep last night? Puts it all together, and it's like, hey, man, you need to do some stuff.
And that's the thing is, like, I'm here with the questions. You're supposed to give me the answers. Like, some of these devices, like, we've given you 14 numbers that mean nothing.
Yeah, thank you.
Lumen, thank you. You just give the answers.
Yeah, and like when people are traveling and stuff, it's hard to eat right, and this makes it easy to figure out, oh, what should I be doing for breakfast and that sort of thing. And then also like with the holidays coming up, because like I don't know about you guys, but like it's
is that why you've trimmed down?
It's a period of gorging.
You're losing yourself. You're getting to
you buy yourself some LBs for the winter. You got to then fatten up for the winter and prepare for hibernation. But my wife has already like ordered a bunch of stuff for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Families coming in town, and like the calorie counts of some of these things, the charcuterie boards,
it's coming,
things like that. It's coming in hard.
Yeah.
And so you got a device like Lumen that helps you balance that sort of thing out when you can't be in control.
Yes.
And you're going to have the charcutes.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have the cheeses and the spreads and all
the
those
tip
things.
toppers.
So the stuff you can manage, you can help, manage it with Lumen.
Some people eat cream corn and cream spinach. You have charcuterie.
Yes. My wife also does that thing where she puts the salami over the wine glass and folds it, and then you flip it over and it turns it into a rose. It's beautiful presentation.
Wow.
She's very good
presentation.
at it.
I like that. Well, look, if
I'm going to
that
tell my
interests
wife you said that. By the way,
she's definitely not listening. So that's okay. Your mom might tell her before you get to it. Anyway, so if you want to take the next step in improving your health, you go to lumen.me/ruthless. That's 15% off your Lumen if you do that at lumen.me/ruthless for 15% off your purchase. Thanks again for Lumen for sponsoring this episode. Okay, fellas. Game time.
Yeah, King of the Hill.
Game time.
King of the Hill, which we've waited to play because we were just waiting for all the takes to properly marinate. And I think the wait will be well worth it.
I think so. I mean, look, the biggest challenge here was trying to find which competitor you play. And I should also just say, as a real moment for this program, turns out Jennifer Rubin, the Queen, no longer on
she's lost her
X.
fastball.
Yeah, she's one of these people who think that X or Twitter is an airport and you have to announce your exit. This is they make a big grand gesture, and I appreciate so many minions have been like, "Hey, did you see Jen Rubin says she quits?" No one ever really quits. They always come back. They can try going to Blue Sky.
So you don't think it's over?
She'll come back.
Well,
She'll always come back. You can't give up the attention.
Yeah,
I do have a suggestion. In the same way that the NFL honored the great Vince Lombardi with the name of the trophy.
That is not a bad idea.
I think we should name the trophy of King of the Hill after Jen Rubin.
I think so too. I had asked for some analytics on this. I haven't got. I think it is the case that she's the all-time winningest. She may not have the best percentage. But I think in all-time wins, I think she has the most King of the Hill all-time wins. For that, we're forever grateful. Mm-hmm. For Jennifer Rubin and her
service. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
The Jen Rubin trophy.
Yeah, just a brain on top of a worm.
So I have defending champion Bill Crystal, which I'm very excited to play.
And I'm going to bring Smoke and Joe Walsh.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Let's go ringside.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting from who knows where. Where did you come from? Where did you Joe Walsh? And now, in the blue corner, fighting from Pierre Omadier's checkbook and current champion of the world, Bill War Now, War Forever, Caristo.
That was great. That was great. He always gives it 110%.
What a
He
pro.
really does every time out. I mean, it's just.
I never know what to say about Joe Walsh.
Well, it says so many directions.
Okay, so I have to go. I have to go first in round one here, and I'm just going to play a nuke right off the top here.
Oh my God,
Spaghettis, can I get exhibit number 7, please? Okay, this is a Bill Kristol quote tweeting. There's a quote tweet from Dave Weigel who says, "Kristol for DNC chair?" ? Mm-hmm. I can only assume what Bill Kristol had previously tweeted out. I happen to think Weigel was probably being facetious about this whole thing.
Yeah.
But Bill Kristol then quote tweets him. Volunteered in high school for Hubert Humphrey for president in 1968. Was vice president to Harvard Radcliffe's student for Scoop Jackson in 1972 and worked the summer of 1978 for Pat Monahan in the New York Senate primary. Admittedly, a bit of a lacuna for the next 40 years or so.
I mean,
but doesn't it just explain it? Didn't he just
That's
explain
it right there.
Absolutely incredible.
I don't even feel like it's like that weird. He's like, no, I used to work for a ton of Democrats, and I'm now a Democrat.
No,
it's like, yeah, checks.
What I love about it is I truly think that context, that resume, makes Bill Kristol the apex predator of the Never Trump movement. And that is, he really is the prototypical Never Trumper in that he was never a Republican in the first place. Oh. He was a Democrat who, through his father, Irving Kristol and Leo Strauss and the neoconservative movement, became a Democrat to a Republican. And then, he had his moment in the sun 30 fucking years ago, and once that was over, decided, I don't like this party anymore.
I mean, it's well played. I just feel like, I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
We'll see.
Hold on. What, Bailiff, what are you doing here? Why is it that my competitor is giving the commentary about my take?
I want to say this.
Judge? Judge says nothing.
I
what
want to
is
say
this
this.
court?
Sounds like a fair court to me.
Why does he feel he needs to say lacuna? Just say gap.
Why
don't
can't
need
he say
to
gap?
highlight
That's what he
and go to
picked-
thesaurus.
That's what he picked up.
The
Get the
SAT
hell
word.
out of here.
No, I mean, it's a great one.
I think Bailiff,
lacuna.
Bailiff, it's a very astute observation. In fact, to me, this tweet looks like he read the word lacuna in a book and built a tweet around that.
Yeah. SAT word of the day.
All right, let's go to Exhibit 1 from Joe Walsh. The reason that I think this guy so much, remember he ran as a Tea Party Republican.
That's right.
This is on them. What he's talking about is
The voters.
the voters. This is on them. The American people knowingly chose a cruel, dishonest, lawless authoritarian to be their president. Some who voted for him say, I don't care that he's cruel, dishonest, lawless, authoritarian. And others who voted for him said, I want to be ruled by a cruel, dishonest, lawless, authoritarian. But either way, this is on them now. They all will deserve everything a cruel, dishonest, lawless authoritarian does to them and does to America.
God, kind of an essay, huh?
I bet I fired off that exact tweet when Obama got reelected.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But the best part about it is that, this guy has spent the last 2 years talking about democracy and preserving democracy and how important, his break really was the 2020 election and, just not the observation of how the people voted. And now he's like, fuck you people. Yeah. You voted the wrong way. It kills me. I think that's the funniest component to it is it takes the core of the argument that made this man lose his mind.
And it's so much better that Trump won the popular vote, too, because it's you have to understand most Americans agree with Trump.
But he didn't say lacuna and he didn't name check Scoop Jackson.
Well, so therein lies the conundrum for your judge. There's a certain amount of artistry that goes into sliding the word lacuna into a tweet and name checking Scoop Jackson that certainly overshadows repeating the same 3 words 12 times in the span of it.
Which really is all that tweet was.
However,
Oh,
blaming
really?
the
Wow.
voters
Wow.
Blaming the American people, especially if you're a guy who won on the backs of the Tea Party movement, is just absolutely outrageous.
Just a
And
bad
for that
judge.
region,
No, that's a great decision.
Joe Walsh gets round one.
Yeah, I think the judge is well reasoned once again, as he always is. So I will play round two. This is such a great. This is perfect because it's a moment of self-realization.
Okay.
In addition to how crazy the shit that comes out of his mouth is, it's a moment where he's like, fuck. And you could see we talked about this when we were watching like the Tim Miller, Bill Kristol clip about the blood draining out of their face and realizing they had no constituency at all. And like, what have they done with themselves? Perfectly encapsulated by Joe Walsh in Exhibit 2, please. Spaghettis. Those of us Republicans who publicly stood against Trump are done politically.
It's another essay. He's doing another essay. God,
We'll
he's so
never
sad.
have careers as Republicans ever again. But all the other Republicans who've known how unfit Trump is, how dangerous he is, but have kept their mouths shut, and instead they've publicly supported him in all these years, they'll be just fine. Their futures in the GOP are bright. No one said life was fair.
It's an amazing take.
You can only imagine what is sitting behind that screen as that sucker gets typed out, probably edited 1,000 times, as he's like, oh, like I've made my entire livelihood, my political relevance, and I've just pissed it away in the hopes that libs would rescue me from my insanity. And now here I am.
That is really good. It's like he got halfway there. He realized he's finished, but he doesn't realize it's because he was wrong.
Yeah, he's like,
you know?
maybe if I just have one more bite at the apple.
Amazing.
Okay. We're gonna see.
Wow,
if-
he's bailiff.
I think that's
I mean,
their take.
he got both sides of
Yeah.
the tweet to give
Yeah.
his commentary. I would just point out.
champion.
I mean,
Well, I mean, we got hostile
collecting
counsel.
dust. I'm collecting dust on my Steve Bannon jacket over here.
Okay, well, hostile counsel. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we'll just see if the judge likes to enforce his precedent. Exhibit number 6, please, Spaghettis. Bill Kristol's talking about the election results. Lots of reasons for the vote. Incumbents are unpopular. Biden had a low approval rating. Harris did this or didn't do that, etc., etc. I don't quarrel with the analysis. But to understand is not to excuse. No excuse for the American people voting to make Trump president again.
Amazing.
He attacked the voters.
It's like, am I out of touch? No, it's the voters who are wrong.
Spaghetti, can we pull up the Walsh tweet one more time?
I think we should have
Please,
another
I'd
look
like
at
to.
it.
Oh,
I'd like to see it. It was just so long. I'm trying to remember. Which
What was the
exhibit
number,
was
was
that,
it?
counselor?
It was Exhibit 2, please, Spaghetti.
exhibit number boring.
It is not boring at all.
Boring.
This is
Okay,
the
so-
moment of self-realization
Oh, my
that
God.
every single Never Trumper, the basis of our game, has gone through in the last 6 days. I mean, this is outrageous commentary. I'd ask the bailiff to shut that down.
He fell asleep because it's boring.
Counselor,
This
what
is
I
an
would
activist. This is an activist.
what I would like to say about that tweet, Spaghettis, if you could just pull it up one more time. What I'd like to say about this tweet is that it implies that Joe Walsh is a Republican, and he has not been a Republican for some time. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like he just adopted his position as a Democrat over the summer. And I do think that he's making a good try here. But once again, I rule in favor of the guy who is attacking the voters. And for that
Consistency from the
reason-
judge.
For that reason, Bill Kristol wins round two.
Consistency
Okay.
from the judge. You know what? I will say this. I disagree with the decision, obviously,
Yes.
but I do appreciate consistency from the judge.
Thank you.
I do appreciate. That's the kind of precedent
Yeah.
which future cases are built upon.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And for round 3, Spaghetti, exhibit number 9, please. Okay. I'm just going to read it first, and then I'll tell you why I love it so much. This is Bill Kristol. 6 years ago today, Trump cancels trip to Einsmarn Cemetery in France calling Marines buried there suckers or losers and suckers. And what I love about this is like, this was a tweet from somebody before the election, and he's still going right back into the breach with the fake story about Trump doing all of these things, and his former chief of staff
It's all John Kelly related stuff from October.
I think you really got to understand like how the sausage is made in political media to appreciate this. Is like everybody else got the memo. Like they're done serving the slop to the American people and pretending this story was real. But Bill Kristol is like that last Japanese soldier on the island decades after World War II who doesn't know it was all fake and it was all for the election, and he's still tweeting about it.
I mean, it's pretty good.
That's why it's great.
Joe Walsh.
Well, I'm going to have to pull up exhibit number 3 in the interest of the precedent that is well set here in the courtroom today. They knew exactly who he was, and they still chose him. This isn't...
They're all essays.
2016, Trump told us who he was, and his supporters chose him anyway. They chose his lies, his disdain for democracy, his hunger for power. If democracy fails, the blame is on them. Join the social contract with Joe Walsh every weekday at 8 a.m. He links to his...
All right. Seeing the last paragraph here, I'm just going to do the honorable thing, and I'm going to concede. I'm conceding.
Can we pull up?
I concede.
I saved it for third because it's so good.
Can we pull up the Kristol tweet one more time?
He's conceded.
I'm conceded.
What are you doing, Judge?
I want to point something out about the Kristol
Wake
tweet.
up, Judge. It's over.
That is absolutely...
It's already conceded.
I want to point out something about the Kristol tweet that's absolutely... You mentioned that he's continuing on with the bullshit rhetoric from the campaign. But the idea that our president, who just hired a veteran to run the Department of Defense, actually said these things is outrageous.
Yeah.
And I was prepared to rule for Bill Kristol in the moment that was read for that reason, until you got to that final commercial from Joe Walsh about his live stream.
It's so cool.
It's the best when they say something so fucking terrible.
That's the thing,
and then they're like, "And join me for all the discussion about all this fun stuff."
I mean, that tweet is so beautiful because, I mean, we saw it again today in action when, like, Joe Biden is smiling by the fire, being like, "Welcome back, President Trump." All this, like, democracy's gonna die bullshit was just a sales tactic.
It's all a
He's
sales
like, We're all
tactic.
gonna die. Democracy will end. Join me on the social contract with Joe Walsh.
He didn't even get to like my favorite part of this whole thing, which is the hashtags at the bottom. Hashtag the social contract. Hashtag Joe Walsh. And then hashtag democracy.
Hashtag
And
democracy.
it's like therein lies the revealed truth of the Never Trump movement.
All a
is that
grift.
this is a grift. This is a promotion. They say things they don't believe that are out there. It's like when you scroll through Instagram and like there's like food stuff. And you see food on Instagram, it's never just a normal fucking cheeseburger.
No.
It's a cheeseburger with 4 smashed patties, and there's like a fucking T-bone steak, and then there's pulled pork on it, and then they put the bun on, and then they pour cheese over the top. Like, that's what it is. This is political pornography.
It's very well said. It's very well said. What a contemptible loser. I can't get enough of it.
It's so good.
It's like the guy sucked when he was a Republican. You know what I mean? It's just, oh, God, I can't get enough of it. All right, I'll take the win. Joe Walsh. Smoker Joe Walsh makes it another week. You guys ready for some more variety?
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
All right, so we got an update on the squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turns out.
Can we get an image for the folks at home?
Yeah, let's put that graphic
Peanut the
one
squirrel.
up. There he is.
Yeah.
What a sweet little thing.
10-gallon hat.
Far away. Yeah, look,
If
there's a
you're
hat.
an OG, by the way, if you've been around since the beginning, you will remember when we made Duncan sing that
In the Arms
song
of the Angel.
to actually open one of our shows. You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
This update, I mean,
Yeah, it's
you beginning. I have something to say on it.
All right, it's TMZ, and they say Peanut the squirrel was rabies free. Remember that was the whole thing where they were like, well, we had to put it down because we thought it had rabies.
Yeah,
there
which
was
I
an-
love about a rabies test is to kill it to find out if it would kill anyone.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the Salem witch trials of like medical science when it comes to animals. It's like, well, we'll put the witch in some stones in a lake, and if she sinks,
she floats or sinks.
If she sinks, honorable death. If she floats, she's a witch.
And that's the thing is, like, TMZ uncovered that while they had Peanut, they had him live, and they cut his head off live.
What?
Yeah.
It says it right here.
Yeah, so Peanut the squirrel.
And they took video of it. I mean, we're not going to show it, but they took video and they cut this little squirrel's head off.
There's video of that
They
situation?
were all having a good time. All the Democrats, they were all cheering as they did this.
No, I didn't know.
We're all cheering.
This is floating around
They
on
were.
the internet. You can see the
I mean,
video.
I haven't seen it. People said this is happening.
Okay,
I don't
all right.
believe
I
you.
think Smug's doing some fake news.
I think he's trying to
I've
do.
heard many
there's like
people
an
talk about
Al-Qaeda
this.
element to what
Yeah.
you're
Many people
saying.
talked about this.
Many people talked about it. Well, Peanut the squirrel, according to TMZ, is officially in the clear, testing negative for rabies after his death. But get this, it also emerged that both he and Fred the raccoon were set for the chopping block
Literally.
days before they were seized in a raid.
What sort of justice is that?
Well, their owner's livid about it. Mark Longo didn't hold back, telling TMZ it's hard to stomach the bombshell revelation that 4 agencies had already given the green light to euthanize his pets 7 days before they were taken to the upstate New York
Wait a
property.
minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so it was a catch. It was a
They-
catch
no,
and kill. Is
no.
what it was.
They had 4 agencies
Yeah.
thinking about a squirrel?
Yes.
And who says we need a Department of Government Efficiency?
I feel like Ramaswamy and Elon
They're
are
gonna go ham.
The New York Post reported that state officials advised the county to euthanize the animals a week before the raid was launched. This news contradicts the New York Department of Environmental Conservation's claim that Peanut had bitten an agent during the raid, supposedly necessitating the rabies test. Animals must be euthanized to properly test for rabies. I mean, that's also...
I'm going to need Lee Zeldin as head of EPA to go ahead and pause any grants to the New York Department of Environmental Conservation.
Bingo.
Also, can we pop the picture back up? I mean, look, I don't know what a rabid squirrel looks like, but it doesn't look like that.
And they cut his head off like he's a goddamn vampire.
With a bone saw the size of a butter knife.
Full Khashoggi style. I mean, it's unbelievable what they've done to that squirrel. These people.
Your buddies aren't going to like that one, Ashbrook.
Your buddies are. Sorry. We're just having fun, you know? We're just having fun. Mark's not letting it slide. He's out for justice for Peanut, and it's not just for him. The whole country's feeling this heartbreak and is backing him up and wanting answers badly. I don't think they're going to get any. I'll be honest. I feel like this dies in a New York court of justice the same way everything else does.
Yeah.
You know?
They took his head off and taped it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they taped it.
Yeah, they taped it. That's
I mean,
what
you
a lot
really
of people
think that?
People have been saying it. That like there's video and they killed him and they were while he was alive.
Many people are saying.
Lots of people said this.
Many people are saying. Another thing that strikes at the heart of what we do here in the Ruthless Variety program is one of the budget carriers has fallen on hard times. Smug.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So according to the New York Post, Spirit Airlines is preparing to bankruptcy filing after their talks with Frontier collapsed.
Can you imagine that airline? They're like, you suck, we suck. Just be the biggest piece of shit out there.
It's funny because it's true. Can you imagine? You're like, hey, you guys treat your people like shit, right?
Yeah.
So do we.
Yeah, synergy.
Do you make them pay like $40 for a carry-on?
Yeah.
You do? Oh, we can merge.
Yeah. They're like, it's $50 when I sit in a chair. Otherwise, you're just like in the hay pile with the pigs in the back.
Well, apparently the Wall Street Journal reported the talks broke down in the merger, and the shares of the company were down 39% at $1.80 after the bell. That's not good if you're a shareholder in Spirit, but if you listen to Variety Program, you'd have gotten out of that position a while ago. The stock has fallen nearly 80% this year, while the S&P 500 Passengers Airlines Index has jumped 52. So there's quite a gap there. There's quite a gap there. The ultra-low-cost carrier is in advanced discussions with bond holders to hammer out a bankruptcy plan. I'll be honest. I feel like it's one of those, like, you bought your ticket, you knew the risks. Let's say, let the plane crash, so to speak. Like, if you're a bondholder for Spirit, you had to know this would end this way, didn't you?
Maybe a junk bondholder.
I mean, they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can paint the fucking airline yellow. Maybe people will like that. I mean, it was just like, oh.
And like even after that, we had that story of like the raccoon going like Tarzan in front of their desk at the airport. Then the story broke. Did you see that? Like, it was trying to land in Haiti, and they got gunshots.
Yeah, no,
There's
I
like
saw
holes
the
being
pictures
put
of
in
the
the plane.
bullet holes.
It's like, okay,
But you know,
how much do I have to pay to upgrade to a flight that doesn't get shot
But
at?
you know what was going through the heads of those passengers on Spirit as they're getting shot at, as they're trying to land in Haiti. They're like, yeah, all this checks out. I did this to myself.
Hey, you're just sitting there on like Hotwire or something. You're like, hey, I need a low budget option to Haiti.
Yeah.
There's like an asterisk. Your plane ticket's $9, but we cannot guarantee you survive.
But even then,
You're sitting there on the plane, and there have been bullets shot at you, and you're like, well, I guess I get a $9 refund.
But you just know, if that whole plane would have went down, no insurance policy, life insurance is getting paid out.
Nothing.
When an insurance adjuster looks at this and they're like, Spirit Airlines to Haiti, of course they died.
I mean, they made the choice to fly into Port-au-Prince with a freaking Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
Holy
I mean, and
cats.
hopefully it's just the first. I hope the rest of the bastards that are awful airlines are next. I'm talking to Delta. They should be next. I hope American Airlines catches it. These are all bastards.
Wait, who's going to be left?
Wait, were you American? Hold on a second. You're throwing all the domestic
They're
carriers.
horrible. They're horrible airlines. They're terrible people.
Is barbecue still in charge of Haiti at this point? Remember that?
That's a
with the
good
whole Civil
question.
War?
Good point.
I want to know.
Who is Barbecue nominated to run their FAA?
He was like the warlord.
Who's picking up the Port-au-Prince
Yeah,
run?
yeah.
I got to know that. Well, listen, that's a good variety segment. I'm glad we got to that. We do have an interview, a really good one, which
Near and dear to our hearts.
it's just sort of a perfect
so this
thing
is
that we do here.
Jonathan Lusk, who's the co-founder of Bird Dog, basically, create Airbnb style excursions for hunting and fishing and
So
stuff.
smart.
So it's right up our alley. I think we're definitely going to use their
You know what's
service.
so funny? Like every time you go into like an Airbnb or like a VRBO or whatever, and you can't search like that. Right. You can find something you think is like reasonably close to what it is that you want to do of hunting and fishing or whatever, but it's never like, no, I want to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want to fish. These guys fix that problem.
Yeah.
One-stop shop.
Oh, it's so smart. All right, let's get to it.
Well, if you've watched or listened to Ruthless for a long time, you know we love hunting, fishing, excursions with friends. It feels like we're always trying to plan something. And that brings me to our sponsor of today's episode, Jonathan Lusk, the founder of Bird Dog. It's basically the Airbnb of hunting and excursion planning. Welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be with you.
So tell us a little bit more about Bird Dog. How long have y'all been doing this?
Yeah, Bird Dog's a marketplace that connects landowners with hunters. We started a couple of years ago. My background is like finance, so managing money for a bunch of people. And two of my best friends, I went to Texas A&M. They started a company, and so I managed money for them. And the CEO, Jason, was like, hey, I need you to not just manage my money, but do my taxes and manage my ranch. I was like, man, I don't do any of that. That's like way too much work. And so he's like, just double my fee. And I was like, okay, let me update my resume. I'm going to be a ranch manager. So I was just trying to find like an Airbnb for hunting to list his property just to show income in his LLC, and it doesn't exist. So I went to him and said, hey, give me capital. I want to start this. This was in 2002. And the next month I was hunting with Colt McCoy, the football player.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, I love this idea. I want to invest in it. And so we raised some capital. And the whole idea is that starting in Texas, 95% of the land is privately owned in Texas. So if you want to go hunt, you've got to be invited or own a ranch. If there is a commercial operation, the website's really old and they really struggle with marketing, and you might be on the 8th page of Google. And so we said, hey, let's go take photos of these ranches, find out what game's available. and then put it on a website, similar to like a public tee time system for golf.
Yeah.
Or buying tickets to a game or whatever. Like, let's just make it easy to get in the outdoors.
Well, I love that idea because I've been in this situation. Like, I've been in Texas, trying to find out where I could go pig hunting, and ended up out somewhere in Nacogdoches. But it's the hardest thing to plan. Because like you said, it's like, all right, who do I reach out to do this? Like, you got to find somebody with the land that advertises so you can find them on Google. And so it's just not a very easy process for people.
No, it's very challenging. You might have to look up, pig hunting in Texas, and you might get 10 different locations. There's no pricing, there's no ratings or reviews. And so you have to get on the phone, which most people just don't have time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, man, people are typically looking at these things between like 6 and 10 p.m. And they are really drawn to like the photos and the ratings and the reviews and clear pricing. And then you can just book it on your own time. I mean, we make it super simple. And then, all these places have got lodges, guides, game, food. They're just ready to host. And so we help them by making it easy for the landowner. And then the hunters have a great time. And it's been like all 5-star reviews. People have loved it. And so it's grown pretty quickly.
That's amazing. All right. So where are you operating now?
So we're in Washington, Texas. That's where our headquarters is, which is, it was the first capital of the Republic of Texas in 1836. It happens to be where I live. And so I tell guys, hey, you can work from wherever. We got people all over the U.S., but I'm like, if you want to be at HQ, you're coming to our small town. But our ranches are, Texas. I used to say it was like Texas, Louisiana, Mexico, Argentina, Africa, South Carolina. But now, when we launched with Fox News, it was like, I don't even know where we're at. We're like Florida, Michigan, Idaho, Alaska.
Wow.
It's grown significantly. And that's the cool part, man, is if we can get more locations, it just opens up the opportunity for the hunters. And then the landowners are great because they're covering their operating expenses, property taxes, feed bills, insurance. And so the landowners love it. And so do the hunters and the fishermen.
So what type of game are we talking about here for some of the hunting excursions? Because I've been to some of those ranches in the hill country in Texas, and sometimes you're driving along and it feels like you might be on the plains of Africa. You got zebras running out there and everything.
Yeah, so we've got white-tailed deer. We've got exotics, which is what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
where Texas really looks like South Africa because there's a lot of high-fenced ranches here. We've got waterfowl, ducks, geese, sandhill crane. We've got upland birds, pheasant, chukar, quail. We just picked up, I think, moose and mountain lion and bear.
Wow.
So I talked to my sales guy. I'm like, what have we gotten this week? And so we basically have everything that someone would want. If it's not on the website, it's a good opportunity for us to go find new landowners to say this person wants to hunt this species, and we can bring you clients to your ranch. And so people are always looking for clients, but we pretty much have everything that you'd want to hunt.
Awesome. So outside of the hunting, what sort of other excursions or trips do people plan using Bird Dog?
So we've also got fishing.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't pushed it big time. We've got, a few spots for fishing, but what we're launching in December is hosted fishing trips. So I got approached by a guy who's a fishing influencer, was in the Major League Soccer for 10 years, and said, hey, I'm trying to figure out a brand that I can partner with to do this fishing thing. And I said, well, we're so busy on the hunting side. If you can run it, let's go do it. And with our partnership with Field and Stream, we'll do 12 trips next year, which will be, 6 to 8 people, the coast of Texas, Venice, Louisiana, Key West, Mexico, and then we'll build from there. So we're entrepreneurs. So
That's awesome.
We love to talk to people and figure out what they want and find out what the clients want, and then find out, from people who are passionate about delivering these experiences, and then just offer the technology and the design for them to go do this. So we have fishing, we've got hunting, and then, again, on the whole topic of just talking to clients and figuring out what they want, we've got basically you have these multi-generational ranches, right? And you've got, son, daughter, dad, grandparents, and they're making big decisions. Or ultimately what they want to do is leave a legacy. And so we think deeply about their legacy, what they want to leave. And then we say, how can we utilize this land? How can we help you put your land to work so that you can continue this, so you don't have to sell off the property? And so we got approached by some farmers. They're like, hey, can we lease land for farming? Cattle folks, can we lease the land for cattle? So we said, how do the economics work? We go take it to the landowners. And so we're starting to do some of that with some of our landowners. There's a lot of tax benefits that landowners can take advantage of that they don't know about. They know about ag exemptions, but they may not know about a local county tax advantage they have for a landowner, or habitat, or conservation easements, or whatever it is. So we're like, let's help these landowners. The landowners are our clients. If we take care of them, then people's hunting and fishing experiences are going to be fantastic. So we're rolling out some pretty big stuff next year that kind of services the landowner, which is going to be great for other people. It'll be great for America, really, on the farming side, and also the hunting. I mean, if you get people outdoors, and you've done this before, there's just something special about sitting around the campfire with your friends and family and colleagues. I tell people, hunting, like, pulling the trigger is 1% of it, and 99% of it is just being with people that you love in camp.
Yeah.
And just learning and getting educated.
Making memories.
That's it, man. Right. It's like making memories with people that you care deeply about.
Well, what I love about this is, you were talking about fishing earlier, and it's like, well, fly fishing is a lot different than, trawling in a lake, which is a lot different than deep sea fishing in Florida. And a lot of people who might be interested in these things, they can get intimidated by that process, right? And so, like, the opportunity to have like a guided excursion for some of these things really lowers that barrier to entry for people who are interested in hunting or fishing or any of these things.
It's a big deal. What I talk a lot about is just the education aspect of it, because I'd say 50% of our users are the guys who are hunting and fishing, haven't hunted before. And so what we do is we'll do a lot of hunters education, and we'll bring the kids and put them on the front row and the moms and dads in the second row, especially guys who are like, man, I know what I'm doing. And I just say, hey, no, you don't. Neither do I, because I didn't grow up hunting. I grew up poor on a fish farm, and I wanted to get my kids into hunting, but I didn't know what I was doing. And so you kind of demystify that you have to know what you're doing in order to get into it. And so we'll go educate them, and then we'll go shoot rifles and shotguns, and then say, hey, dad or mom, you get up here and do it. And then they feel comfortable with it. And then you have a father-son hunt or a mother-son hunt or whatever it is. And then they go out and experience it. And it's just like anything else. Once you taste it, you're hooked.
Right.
And then you keep going. So we talk about education, access, and experience. Those are the things that we focus on, because we want to get net new hunters into the space, because we know how much it impacts. What happens in camp impacts what happens in the kitchen, your household. I mean, you're just a changed person when you get out there.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have to plan a trip, all of us here at Ruthless, and use y'all's service. So if people are like us, want to get involved and set one of these things up, where do they go?
Birddoggit.com. It's birddogit.com. And I think we've got 150 experiences on the website, and that's growing, every single day. I think in the last 2 weeks, we've added 7 states and 15 ranches. We're at 75 now. We'll be at 100 ranches or lodges. They tell you in Argentina, don't call it a ranch, call it a lodge. But we've got 100. We got 75 lodges, and we've got multiple experiences at each of those. So if you're like, once you have the location and you want to go hunting, you can add these additional things onto it. Like, hey, we want to have a private chef, or we want to do, whatever. You can do helicopter hunting, hog hunting in Texas in the morning, and you can go fishing in the afternoon, or, whatever it is that you want to set up. So you have the place, and then you have whatever you guys want to do. And man, we'd be honored to have you guys. It'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be amazing. Oh, man. So that's birddogit.com. Go check out that website. See what sort of excursions are on there. I know that's what we're going to be doing here after we tape the show for sure. Jonathan Lusk, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care.
Take care.
He's awesome. He's awesome, and they're expanding, like rapidly expanding, because I think they really identified a hole in the marketplace.
Turns out there's fellas like us.
Yeah, fellas like us. So we definitely need to plan something on Bird Dog.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to that want to do the same thing. birddogit.com.
Dude, get on this and check them all out. I understand that they've got a bunch of different stuff on there. I can't wait. Right after the show, I'm going to get on this thing, and we got to plan something.
Absolutely.
sure.
We deserve it. We're gentlemen.
We do.
Yeah.
You know, gentlemen ought to celebrate their victories.
I mean, the election's done. We should just go fly fishing. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Tell our wives.
Yeah.
See you in a week.
No thanks. We're going to go fishing and hunting for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Bird Dogit has not added shopping trips to the offerings
They
there.
should have a sister thing where it's like...
Because if I had one where I could check a box that was like,
And-
wife gets to go shopping while I go hunting.
Yes.
I could seal the deal.
Or
That's a good
something
deal.
like
That's a good idea.
sort of similar arrangement where you
Spa.
can mitigate the damage.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so remember our question of the day for all of you. What is your favorite? Who is your favorite cabinet pick and why? Tell us all about all of that. You got to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as millions and millions of people continue to do, and we love every minute of it. We'll read them all, and we'll get back to you next Tuesday with all of that. With that, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Jonathan Lusk. Thank you so much to the Minions. Like Holmes said, like and subscribe. So until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Tuesday. Stay ruthless.